Elmina Castle is one of the oldest and most historically significant European buildings in sub-Saharan Africa. Located in the town of Elmina on the southern coast of modern-day Ghana, this fortress played a central role in the transatlantic slave trade and serves today as a stark reminder of the dark chapter in world history. The castle was originally built by the Portuguese in 1482. It was originally called São Jorge de Mina in Portuguese, a translation of St. George of the Mine. It was constructed under the command of Portuguese explorer Diogo de Azambuja on the orders of King John II of Portugal. The purpose was to establish a permanent base to control the lucrative gold trade along the West African coast. Elmina quickly became a major trading post for gold, ivory, spices, and other goods, especially as it was near the Ankabra and Tano rivers, rich in gold. Although gold was the initial commodity of interest, the focus shifted as Europeans' demand for enslaved labor grew, especially with the colonization of the Americas. By the 17th century, Elmina Castle had become a major hub in the transatlantic slave trade. Africans were captured inland and brought to Elmina, where they were imprisoned in dungeons, sometimes for months, before being shipped to the Americas. The conditions in the dungeons were said to be horrible and horrific, dark, overcrowded, and unsanitary. In 1637, the Dutch West India Company captured Elmina Castle from the Portuguese after a fierce battle. However, the Dutch continued the slave trade, expanding the fort's operations, adding new buildings and fortifications. The castle served as the capital of the Dutch Gold Coast until the early 19th century. In 1872, the Dutch ceded Elmina Castle to the British, as part of a treaty that transferred control of all Dutch possessions on the Gold Coast to Britain. The British officially abolished slave trade in their colonies in 1807, but the impact of slavery lingered, and the castle's legacy was deeply tied to that devastating historic period. Under the British rule, the castle served various administrative and military functions. In 1957, the Gold Coast became the independent nation of Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence from colonial rule. Elmina Castle came under the jurisdiction of the new Ghanaian government, and was recognized as a site of immense cultural and historical significance. Elmina Castle was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979, along with other forts and castles along Ghana's coast. The designation helped preserve the castle and recognize its global significance, especially in the context of slavery and colonialism. Elmina Castle is now a museum and historical site, attracting thousands of visitors from around the world, including members